Welcome to Cyber Soul, the podcast where we dive deep into the digital chaos, explore the messy truth behind cybersecurity, and ask the questions no one else seems to be asking. I'm your host, Keelin Conant, and around here, we don't pretend to have all the answers. What we do have is curiosity, bold conversations, and a mission to understand how we stay secure and human in a world that feels increasingly hacked, digitally and emotionally. Each week, we sit down with the people building, breaking, defending, and redefining the future. Whether it's quantum computing, ransomware, disinformation, or the people behind the breach, we're going there. So buckle up. It's time to dig beneath the firewalls and into the soul of cyber. Hello, everyone, and welcome back. My name is Keelin Conant, and I am the host of the cybersoul.io. So I have Jason with me again. Because I wanted to do a follow-up from our conversation in Atlanta that happened about 2 weeks ago. After I rewatched it, I was like, okay, we're kind of poking holes in the whole AI conversation. But I know that Jason and I both are very optimistic about AI, and I wanted us to take some time to talk about that optimism and about some of the things we see in the market with AI right now. And I will just say one other note. I don't love talking about AI. I think it's over spoken about often. So I try to keep this conversation more about human-centered leadership, about cybersecurity, which is so important. But what you resist persists. So now's the time for me to face the AI conversation. And, who better to do that with is my friend, Jason Meyer. So thanks for being here, sir.
Yeah, thanks, Keelan. Appreciate you having me on again. This is great.
Yeah, yeah. So last time when we spoke, we were just talking about, um, you know, some of the ways that AI might be leaving its mark and maybe its scar, on our technological journey. But let's talk about some of the optimistic things that AI is providing in businesses and personal. So I'll have you go first.
Yeah, I think one of the things that we have to keep in mind is that this is just a tool. It's a great
Yeah.
tool, but it's just a tool. And one of the things I like to say, one of the analogies I like to use, because one of the fears is AI is going to take all of our jobs, and now we're going to all just be sitting at home twiddling our thumbs on universal basic income, waiting to be for something to do, right? And I don't think that's going to happen. Um, I think that the analogy that I use is that the mech suit didn't take Tony Stark's job. It made him Iron Man. It made it so everyone's going to have to strap on the mech suit in the future.
Right.
And I think it's a useful tool that's going to take a lot of the minutia and a lot of the things that we don't like to do on the daily out of our lives so that we can focus on the things that are more important, more impactful.
I do agree. Part of it, I think, needs to be acknowledged, though, is that AI is taking people's jobs right now. Um, but I think about Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, the Tim Burton version that came out in the
Yeah, yeah,
2000s.
yeah.
And Charlie's dad gets laid off because he works in the toothpaste factory and he's putting the caps on, right? And he gets laid off because the machine replaces him putting the caps on. But he gets a job back because someone physically, a human, has to go in and fix that machine when it's broken. So I think about it all of like I'm a very movie driven person. So I do see people losing their jobs right now, but I also want to look at it and say those of you who've been affected by the AI layoffs, was this really your dream job? Was this something that, maybe you went to school for it for coding, but what space is it opening up for you to explore other things and how can you use AI to help you create, the app that really that you wanted to launch or help you write a book that you've always wanted to. So I think leaning into the creative side of AI is going to be very fulfilling for us humans.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you think about certain professions, right? I mean, like a doctor, for instance, okay? How much time a day does a doctor spend on tasks that are not related to patient care necessarily, right? Filling out paperwork, even examining test results, blood work, x-rays, things like that. Um, you know, that AI can assist with that, and it can also take away a lot of that minutia, right? So that
Mhm.
a doctor can focus more on what they went to school to do and what they love to do, which is to provide patient care, not fill out paperwork and make sure that they're HIPAA compliant.
Right, right. So you're talking about, taking the administrative tasks that
Exactly.
kind of drown us. Like, how much email do you get? I get so much
Oh
email.
my gosh. So I have an email. I was in the beta program for Gmail when Gmail came out. I got an invite to Gmail. And so
Okay.
this email became the one that I use to sign up for everything, right? All
Yeah.
the, every time I shop, every time I go anywhere, I've used this email. As of a month ago, I had 47,000 unread emails in that Gmail inbox. And I'm like, you know what? It's a great email. I want to keep it. I want to use it. I need to make it functional. That was the use of AI that, within three or
Yes.
4 hours, I'm down to zero inbox. I get hardly any spam. If I do, I can handle it now. And AI took care of that for me. It cleaned up a useless email box that's actually kind of important to my life.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, like just silly things like recipes for dinner, right? I'm like, okay, I want to eat whole foods. My husband only eats these three things. Like, I'm sick of the same things we've been eating. What do I do? And it will support me. So, I mean, we're just giving examples to all of you listeners of just the simplicities of how AI can be as a tool. But I go to a lot of workshops for end users just to kind of see what the market is like out there because I work with a lot of MSP partners who are doing their best to sell secure AI because we all have these, shadow AIs. We all have our personal AI bots, but how do we keep our corporate data compliant and safe? People's personal information. So using something like Copilot that uses all of the different AI pieces is it's not going away. It's what we're all trying to have our end users adopt. However, when I go to these workshops, people are still resistant and they're not using it. And I appreciate the vulnerability that people show in these workshops because they'll say, "How do I do that?" Something that I look at is fairly simple, but I've just been using it for a long time. So, what have you been seeing in the market, Jason?
Yeah, I think you're right too. That resistance is there because there's this fear that you're feeding. What are you feeding the monster, right? You don't really
Yeah.
know what's going to be used to train the model, what's not going to be used to train the model, what what part of your data is secure and not secure. And so that's why it's really important, like these workshops that you're talking about, to get in there in a sandbox sort of environment, right? Like in my example, I have a Microsoft tenant set up at home on a machine that is my play machine, and I sit there and play with these things in a controlled environment just so I can see what happens. And what you're going to find out is that, oh, it's really not that scary. Yeah, you can make some missteps here and there, right? But
Mhm.
you just got to get in there and tinker. Now, do you want to tinker with as an MSP on your customers' live data? Probably not. That's what these, workshops and things that we do are for.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyone who's watching this and you're feeling resistant to AI still, that's okay.
Hmm.
Definitely not making you wrong. And it's one of those tools like a toaster or a washing machine. I think, it's a tool that is going to make your life better in a lot of ways. So I invite you just to play with it. Just go in and play, ask it some questions. Like I remember one of the first things my husband did, I was like, have it write a song about me. And he's like, okay, you know, not knowing anything about who I was or anything like that, so you can have fun with it. And on that note, I just want to address the artists who are listening to this and who are up in arms against AI, because I'm an artist myself. The actors, the models, our likenesses being used in the AI model. I think that's a real problem. And I also think that, especially with the growth of the internet, we copyright issues around art have been an issue forever. It's not a new issue, it just looks different. So for anyone that's an artist or an actor or a model, just know that you as a human being and your energy is just as important. So try not to focus so much about so worrying about someone stealing pieces of you, they're not going to steal you. So just keep doing your work, keep putting it out there, and just keep feeding that artistic beast, and it'll be okay.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's a good point here too. And another thing that I think about, I I don't think AI will have fully arrived until we stop saying AI, right? We don't say
Mm.
the World Wide Web anymore or the information superhighway, right? When it came out and we like all everyone talked about was the internet, the internet, the internet until it became absorbed into our society. And now, like we
Mhm.
talked about this before, you stand on the street corner and you summon an Uber or a Waymo,
Waymo. Yeah.
like we did in Atlanta there. Um, so once it becomes kind of ubiquitous and ingrained in our day-to-day work, we're not going to notice it anymore as this thing AI that's sort of this nebulous thing that we don't know about. It's going to be a tool that we're all going to use, and we're
Right.
yet to see how it is going to assimilate itself and neatly into our daily lives.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, with that, I want to shift gears a little bit. So if anyone's listening to this, you have comments, you have questions, you just want to say, down with AI, that's okay. Like, I love hearing from people. And if you have more questions about any of these topics, please let me know. We're going to shift gears a little bit because something happened on Friday that Jason wants to talk about. And I, it's tough because it's about the government being involved in AI. And before we jump into that, did you watch there's a special on Peacock. I think it's called the AI movie or the AI film, and it's a documentary about the good side of AI, the bad side of AI. Like it's a great documentary for anybody, no matter like if you're writing, AI bots or if you're just still resisting it, go watch that movie because it's really good. So I have one on Friday. So today is June 16th,
Today is June 16th.
2026.
So this was last Friday. I think we got to back up a little bit just to kind of frame the context because
Yeah, let's do it.
there's a lot going on. Earlier this year, because Anthropic was being used heavily within the government as a tool that they use, Anthropic's kind of put their feet down and said two things: that we don't want our AI to be used for drones to be able to make autonomous kill decisions without human intervention. We also don't want our technology to be used to surveil the American public. So the government didn't quite like that. They wanted to be able to use the AI however they see fit for national security and things like that. So they labeled Anthropic a supply chain risk, I think back in February or March, which is a big thing because that's normally reserved for uh, companies that are inside of countries that are not necessarily friendly with the United States, not companies that reside and operate
Are
within the
in the
United States,
US.
that are in the
Yeah.
United States. Well, that kind of blew over because the government still continued to use Anthropic and Claude because they're great tools. Um, but then on Friday, because Claude or Anthropic earlier in the week had released the new Mythos and Fable 5 models that are super, super powerful, the government said that Anthropic needs to ban all foreign nationals from using the product, including foreign nationals that work for Anthropic. Okay, well, the internet, AI, as we know, there's some anonymity associated with it. No way to know who's a foreign national and who's not a foreign national. So the only
Right.
solution for Anthropic was to ban the model for everyone, including internally. Like, so these models have been banned. There's just so many questions circulating around it because from what I had read, these new models were so locked down and the safety barriers were so much in place that the models were almost unusable to begin with. So it's definitely an interesting take and not sure
Yeah.
what to make of it. I mean, we definitely need regulation and safety and we need to prevent cybersecurity risks. So it just really opens up a whole new discussion about this.
Yeah. And that move, the AI movie talks about that too, because it's like, do we just open it up and let the floodgates open and not have any
Right.
controls around it, which means not one entity like a superpower, like a trillionaire, for instance, owns all of that.
Yep.
But when you open it up to everyone, that means that nefarious actors can also access it. So it's a very, very interesting line. And in that movie, and I think this is an important with the government piece of it too, is it's up to us as the citizens, at least here in the US, to be able to have that platform of a conversation because our voices get to be heard, and to elect officials that we're in alignment with over the control of AI.
It's I know my mind is kind of swirling around this, right? It's to play devil's advocate here. You need you need a license to drive a car or fly an airplane. You
For
need to
sure.
register a gun. You can't have a lock picking kit unless you're a licensed locksmith legally.
Wait, you can't?
I don't. I'm not
Just
sure.
kidding.
Maybe
Kidding. It's
you're not
Babylon.
supposed to. You're not supposed to have a lock picking kit if you're not a locksmith, right?
Right.
So this is probably one of the most powerful technology tools that mankind has ever seen, and we've put it in the hands of people like my mother, right? She can use it. She's not going to use it for nefarious reasons, but this technology is now in the hands of everybody, right? So should you have to verify who you are in order to use these tools? I don't have the answer for that, but I do
Yeah.
see why that question is being posed.
Yeah. I don't think any of us have the answers. I don't think Anthropic guy has the answers. I don't think
Oh,
the government has the answers. We're on we're just, we're in the Wild West of
we're in the Wild
technology, you
West.
know? So this is a conversation. I mean, I would love to hear from people and hear their thoughts on it as well, because
Absolutely.
the more we have conversations around it, I think the less there's going to be friction, right? Having open conversations, and then creativity can be created that way too.
I mean,
Creative answers
yeah,
and solutions.
absolutely. But a further question, I think, though, is will there be a point where we reach the maximum capability that the general public will be allowed to have, right? What we're
Yeah.
talking about right now is frontier models. Do the vast majority of Americans sit there and use frontier models? No, and they shouldn't. If you're using a frontier model to parse your email and summarize it, you're wasting tokens and you're wasting money, right?
Right.
But the frontier model of today will become the daily driver of people in the future. Is there a cap on where we're like, okay, that that's all we really should allow people to have because it's become too powerful?
Yeah. I
I
don't
don't
know. Food for thought. I don't know either. That's
know.
a
No,
great place to start
right,
and to end today.
right.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
but just to kind of bring it back to your original point, like I still remain optimistic. These are amazing tools that we have on our hands. There's a lot of questions that need to be sorted out and answered. I think we will sort them out and answer them. But we just don't know what it's going to look like 6 months or a year from now.
yeah. Yeah. And I think the more excitement we put into it and the less fear, the better the outcome. Because I do believe in energy. That's the woo in me.
Yes.
And,
But
the more
I won't bring up the
optimistic.
fact that I think we're only 2 years almost away from 2029, which is the year that Skynet was deployed in Terminator 2. So, we'll see. We'll
It
see
was
if,
also the year of the crash in 20, in 1929,
oh, it'll be 100 years
right?
since the crash. Right.
So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see
Right.
what kind of awesomeness is created.
But we've got the first AI IPO, so to speak, that happened last week. We got the first
Yeah.
$1 trillion company on our hands.
Yeah.
So I kind of feel like we're living in Star Trek. Like we're in for some pretty cool times.
I hope so. Let's go.
Let's go.
Let's go. All right, Jason, thank you so much for joining us again. And we'll see you next time. Again, thanks for tuning in to the cybersoul.io. If today's conversation sparked something in you, please don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Your support helps me keep bringing these stories, insights, and real talk for a hacked up world to life. Until next time, let's keep making tech human again. So stay curious, stay aware, and keep your cyber soul evolving.